All right, the other big story we're watching is Nvidia, the company about to kick off its developers conference. Kristina Partsinevelos is there live in San Jose with what we can expect from CEO Jensen Huang in just a matter of hours. Kristina, the bar is high here.
Oh, it's incredibly high, and we saw that with the stock rise in Nvidia shares. But this is a developers conference, and they are going to want to hear first and foremost about the latest products, specifically specs of its latest AI GPU. How much memory will it have? How does it compare with AMD's latest chip? And its price point. We're expecting maybe about 30% higher than the H100, and this I'm talking about the new Blackwell chip. So we'll want to know a little bit also as well details about going beyond GPUs to include Ethernet cables, storage, and just that entire ecosystem, software as well. Jensen Huang is giving a 2-hour keynote, something we haven't really seen. You know, he's done this in the past, but the fact that 11,000 people are going to be coming to this big arena behind me is something new that we haven't seen in the last 5 years. And we should hear more details about partnerships, maybe some celeb CEO appearances, and examples. Micron's earnings are out on Wednesday. They've alluded to a collaboration with Nvidia, the same for Oracle, the same for Broadcom. TSMC makes Nvidia's chips, so we could hear more about that relationship and see the impact on some of these shares like Supermicro, ARM. You can see up 2% just today. Lastly, the theme, demand sustainability and visibility into 2025 and beyond. Will inferencing be the next major driver for growth now that many large language models are trained? And how will that expansion into other sectors continue to grow, like finance, healthcare, government, sovereign wealth? And if Jensen Huang continues to speak about that, that could help show that the pace of growth is going to continue. And much of these points, to come full circle, Melissa, are priced into this stock. You know, the share price has gone 82% higher in the last 3 months. There's been a lot of volatility just within the last week and a half or so. You know, it was down 4 out of the 5 sessions just last week. But it's the total addressable market, the TAM, which Jensen said would grow from $1 to $2 trillion in the next 5 years. So any type of details on what that means per year for them could reinforce this AI trade and provide confidence in demand sustainability beyond 2025, which is going to be a key theme here. In other words, the best of the AI golden age has yet to come. Or as Jensen Huang has said, we're still in the early innings.
Right. Same thing, right? Christina, though, when you talk about the total addressable market number, it's staggering. But does that also include software? Because this is a developers conference. Yeah, so Nvidia has to convince people, right, that if they're not just going to be slinging GPUs, it's a whole software ecosystem that they also offer that will be a barrier to entry for others like an AMD. I mean, AMD has made some progress with their own software, but not as far along nearly as Nvidia.
Precisely. So Nvidia offers CUDA, so that's their big selling point. The developers are already using this type of software. The switching costs and learning would be very difficult to go on to any other type of software ecosystem. But for that total addressable market, that $2 trillion, it encompasses not just software and not just GPUs, but you also have the CPUs, the Ethernets, the entire data center infrastructure. They believe that every infrastructure out there, the data centers are going to need to be revamped to be able to accommodate the processing for AI. And so that's why that number is so high and can go from $1 to $2 trillion. For here today, I think what would swing the stock is if we start to hear a number per year. So if it's, $500 billion per year for them, then that's going to be a big mover and also reinforce that trade that, hey, okay, AI is sustainable. It's not going to be just a blip in the, a short-term thing. Fixed costs are going to be high right now, and then it's going to diminish in the next 2 years. So that's something we need to hear from him today.
All right, Kristina, thanks. Kristina Partsinevelos. And do not miss NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang in a CNBC exclusive interview with Jim Cramer. That's tomorrow, 10:15 a.m. Eastern time. Joe, you're noting that, we should watch the stock very closely considering the key reversal that it showed last week.
So on Friday, March 8th, you had that significant reversal from 974. The stock tumbled down to 874. Something somewhat similar this morning, 946, the stock was up at 924. It's now fallen back below 900, got down to a low of 878.37. The point is the importance of Nvidia on the market. So as Nvidia had that little bit of a rollover this morning, you saw the market pull back with it. Nvidia still is the center of the universe. As goes Nvidia, will go the market. And it's interesting because Jensen Huang probably has more impact on the market than Jay Powell does this week, if you think about it.
Oh.
Which is really a remarkable condition, but it also speaks towards that the market is able to overcome some of the friction and inflation and the treasury market because it sees the opportunity and the revenue growth in the AI story.
And the impact on tech, but semiconductors.
Yep.
I mean, since the launch of ChatGPT last year in early part of 2023, semiconductors have outperformed the S&P 500. I mean, it has ignited this trade here that the market has been so dependent on.
100%, and I think we run out of adjectives or superlatives for Nvidia. When I think about data center growth, it's quadrupled year over year. And I'm interested to see what this comment. I mean, Kristina went over a lot of potential discussion points for today, and I think, for me, it's continued partnerships. But the big question for me is, what is the pull forward? How much have we pulled forward already in terms of growth? Are we going into 2026, right? Because we know what the price action has been over the last year and a half. But that'll be a question because we have seen boom bust cycles in the semiconductor space before. I don't think anyone would debate what's going on in the short term, but how much have we priced in? How much have we pulled forward?
Steve, you have a small position in Nvidia. What concerns you about the stock, if anything?
Well, the valuation, but I think they'll grow into it. In terms of what we saw today, the stock was up 35 points at one point, which is not tremendous when you consider what base it's operating off of. But there's a lot of expectation in this speech. To me, it's going to be more of the same. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's going to be that NVIDIA is the leader, that NVIDIA has new products coming out, and that NVIDIA is going to raise prices. So I think everything's fine for now. I just wouldn't get excited about a 2-hour speech. It's probably, if I were there, I'd probably fall asleep during it because I fall asleep during 2-hour movies. But here's what I'd say, that every large tech company, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, are very incentivized to build their own chips, and they will. And they'll do it through ASML, using their tools, and Taiwan Semi. So competition is coming. However, offsetting that is that you've got such exponential growth in AI. This is truly industrial revolution. So I think there'll be multiple winners, but I would not dip down away from the large cap companies because they've got the balance sheets to drive that growth.
Yeah, I mean, the ripple effects, Shannon, are immense. Wedbush had an interesting note out, I think it was today or Friday, saying that for every dollar spent on the H100 chip, there's $10 to $12 in enterprise spending on the back of that to support that chip. So it's not just the chips, it's the whole array of goods that Kristina had sort of gone through, the Ethernet, the software, et cetera.
Well, I think the concern is, too, Melissa, if you think about when people are talking about valuation, what they're concerned about is this shorter-term overestimation of the impact and monetization of AI. But longer term, there's likely an underestimation in terms of not only revenue growth that can be derived directly from AI, but productivity enhancement and improvement. And so if you think about it from a longer-term perspective, what you're really hoping for from a market is that we are still cresting that first wave, and we don't hit that inflection point where there starts to be perhaps disappointment in what's happening on the enablers from an AI perspective, and we start to see that monetization come through on those ripple effects. So that's really what the concern is, this shorter term concern that we don't see the pickup on the second wave. But longer term, there's a lot of analysts who are likely underestimating the longer term impacts and the fact that they might be able to actually offset some of these higher structural costs that we're likely to see over the next few years.